welcome to AT Insider. My name's Eleanor, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing Equatio for Google Chrome. Equatio, made by Google, is an assistive technology tool that helps to make math accessible. Equatio has a variety of built-in tools, including, but not limited to, speech-to-text or voice dictation, where it turns a human's speech into a written math format. It also includes handwriting recognition and a built-in Desmos calculator. Equatio for Google Chrome is compatible with Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Form, and Google Draw. Today I will be reviewing the free version, but there's also a premium version that for schools costs $2.40 per student, and for individuals $160 a year. Alright, without further ado, let's jump to VoiceOver Eleanor to go over all the built-in tools.
What I've done here is I've opened up a Google Doc and I've opened up Equatio in that Google Doc, and now we can go through the tools and see their utility and how well they work. So the first tool is the equation editor. And what this allows you to do is use your keyboard to type in a math equation, and it then inputs that equation into your Google Doc as an image. So you can see here I've inputted a little equation, and I can insert that math into my Google Doc, and it automatically turns it into an image that you can then move around your Google Doc. And you can see that's different from if I were to just type the same keys into a Google Doc. So you can see I'm typing the same keys, but it turns into a different actual format. And that's also not as helpful as the inserted image because you can't move it around the document. All right, so the next tool that I'm going to briefly go over is the LaTeX editor. And so LaTeX is a system for technical typesetting. And so a lot of mathematicians use it to typeset papers and tests and that kind of thing, but I'm not going to go over it today because I don't actually have LaTeX. The next tool is the built-in Desmos graphing calculator. So if you've ever used Desmos before, it's the same thing, it's just it is brought up in your Google Docs. So the next tool is the handwriting recognition. So this is similar to the handwriting recognition on an Apple Watch, where you draw on characters or letters and it then translates those letters into typed text. But this is using a computer and your touchpad. So it's going to be a little bit iffy, right, because I'm only using the touchpad on my computer. But I can try to write an equation here, and we can see how well it translated. So that's pretty easy, right? That's an easy equation. Let's try something harder, right? X squared plus the absolute value. See, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because does it understand? And so you can see here the limitations, right? Even if you can properly actually draw the letters, it can't translate everything. So what I was meaning to write here was absolute value 2, but it translated it to 121. So that's some of the limitations with the handwriting feature. All right, so the next tool, and what I think is the most important tool, is the speech input. And this is speech to text, but specializes in math. So if you're wondering what this list was on my screen, this list is for what I'm about to do. I'm going to speak into the microphone and into Equatio a bunch of different equations, leveling in what I think may be challenging to the computer, from addition to exponents to roots and absolute value. And we can go through and see, does Equatio properly translate this speech into the proper math text.
$322 plus 1,498. That worked flawlessly. We'll move on to subtraction.
Alright, so the last tool I'm going to go over is Math Space. So you can see here in a different tab, I have it open because I had to log in with my email, and I'm not going to show that to all of you, of course. And what this allows you to do is use all of the prior tools we talked about, but it also allows you to have freehand drawing, to input shapes of sort, right? And it allows you to input what it calls smart shapes. So that can be angle measurements that you can then change, right? Change the angle of things. You can also add fraction bar, a grid, or a coordinate plane. So you can see I'm going to add a coordinate plane, and it has those numbers, which can be super helpful because you can't actually input that in a Google Doc. And it has some STEM tools. And so I think this is super cool as it allows you to, on a computer, access things that were once unachievable. So before, you would never be able to actually input a coordinate plane with points on it, right, into a Google Doc, but you can do that here. If you had like an equation or something you had to draw, you could actually turn this into a teacher. And the last thing I want to touch on with this math space is the speech. So what this speech allows you to do is read aloud what is on the screen. You click on a different item and it reads that aloud. But a fault that this has is it doesn't actually read everything, or sometimes it reads the wrong things. So you can see here I have a 90-degree angle, and we'll see what it says when I click speech. It will not actually read the angle, but it will instead read the color of the angle. So we'll see that now.
Reddish pink angle measure with black border.
So we can see it didn't actually read the angle, and this is something that is throughout the actual math space. It will read the coordinate plane, but not the points you put on it, or it won't read the segments. So even though that's a super cool tool, it has some limitations.
All right, let's get into pros. The first pro, and I think the biggest pro, is that it's free. It could have a million flaws, but because it's free, I still suggest that you download it. Another pro is because it's made by Google, it's seamless. One click to download it from Google Chrome, another click to attach your Google account, and then you're all ready to go on Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Forms, and Google Draw. Another pro, again, because it's Google, is that any issues or bugs you may have probably already been fixed, right? There's constant updates. Another great pro is the math space. Now, it does have some flaws. I went over that in the voiceover, and I'll go over that in cons, but I really love how it has a coordinate plane digitally. I've never seen that anywhere else, and I think if it makes a couple improvements, that could be a vital tool for anyone who wants to do math online. Another great pro is its ability for voice dictation. Now, this is a pro and a con. Again, we went over this in the voiceover, but there are a lot of things that it struggles at and a lot of things that it's very good at, right? And so there's a list right here of all the things that it did really well at and the things that it struggled at are highlighted in yellow. I think another great pro is its ability to work with Google Forms, Google Slides. So I'm going to have a video linked in the description, again, made by Google, that explains how you can use Equatio with a Google form. And what I think this allows is it allows teachers to actually test a student with Equatio online. And I think that's super helpful. All right, let's get into cons. The first con is with the speech dictation. It works well with some things, it struggles with others. And I found that the voice dictation just does not work with logs and absolute value. I tried to say it a million different ways, and it just doesn't work, right? So while the dictation may work well with like basic math or even exponents, it does struggle with some other types of math, and so that is a con. The next con is with the actual smart shapes in the math space. And now I love that there's a coordinate plane on the math space, and I think that's like revolutionary, but it kind of loses all of its purpose when you can't actually put points on the coordinate plane for then it to read it back to you, right? So it defeats the purpose because we have this awesome coordinate plane that can get read back to you, but you can't actually put points on the coordinate plane, right? So that kind of defeats the purpose. Another thing is with the angle, right? As you can see here, there's an angle, and when I did the speech, and you can see in the voiceover portion of this video, it would read the weight and the color of the lines, but it wouldn't actually read the angle. So again, it kind of defeats the purpose of like the smart shapes and its ability to read those back to you. Another con that I've come across is kind of with the app as a whole, but with the voice dictation, the handwriting, everything. You really have to learn what Equatio wants, right? So in that voiceover video, I showed you some of the things that I've learned, like in division, right? It can work for over and divided by. But there are other things like in the handwriting where you have to write it a specific way, or you have to use parentheses in places you usually wouldn't for Equatio to understand. So I think that's a con. You have to work and adapt to the assistive technology product when usually the assistive technology product should work and adapt for you. Lastly, I have found some issues with the handwriting recognition. It works well with some things, but it only works as well as the trackpad or the mouse pad you have on your computer, right? I don't expect everyone to actually have like a touch screen device, and so the handwriting recognition feature kind of falls apart when you have to scribble with a mouse or you have to scribble with a trackpad. All right, let's go over a summary. Do I think you should download Equatio for free? Absolutely. Comes down to three things. It's free. It's free. It's one of the only math accessibility tools on the market. And thirdly, it's super easy to download. All three of these make it super easy to just try it out. And even if you don't love it, you've wasted no time just looking and seeing if this is a tool that could be right for you. I also suggest that you go to my description or the description on this video. There are three things down there that are super helpful. I have links, one, to the basics of how to use Equatio, made by Google. So if you decide to download Equatio, you can check out those videos. I also have a link to download Equatio, and I also have a link to my website. So if you want to see any of these reviews in a written format or in a more in-depth format, you can go to my website and check out those written reviews. I hope you enjoyed this video. Smash all the buttons below if you did, and I hope you have a great day.